Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and day one of Shadowlands pre-patch, at least for US servers, is essentially in the books at this point. We had a pretty long stream today. We ended up looking in some pretty spicy builds for Affliction, Destruction, and Demonology. All the builds we hit on today were actually mentioned in the pre-patch guides that I put out here a few days ago, so if you guys haven't seen those, be sure to check those out. But I wanted to report back to you guys today with the results and talk about some builds that are indeed doing pretty well. Affliction Warlock is impressive. Destruction Warlock we knew was going to be pretty good. It's pretty good. Demonology was impressive on its own to a certain extent, but I can say it is pre-patch, but it feels good to be a Warlock. I don't want to go as far as saying the king is back, but there's a lot to get to. So let's get right into this. Starting off with Affliction Warlock. Oh, by the way, I did finish updating my weak auras. So the new Warlock Central weak aura has indeed been updated for Shadowlands. If you guys want it, all the weak auras, profiles, and add-ons you see here are available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, hang out, ask any questions, drop a follow, grab some weak auras or profiles anytime, feel free to do so. Like I said, let's get right into this, talking about Affliction, going over the builds, the openers a little bit, and looking at a decent bit of gameplay today because, man, it's pretty impressive. So the first build, Affliction-wise, today we started off with is triple Racking Brilliance, triple Heart of Darkness, Absolute Corruption, Drain Soul, Vile Taint, Dark Caller, and Dark Soul. Playing the Nilotha, N'Zoth, Manifesto of Madness Trinket, and Vita Charge Titan Shard. The big thing here is that we're playing Blood of the Enemy Major, Conflict and Strife Minor, Breath of the Dying Minor, and Crucible of Flame. Now, Crucible of Flame is one we haven't seen for a long time. However, Crucible is very, very strong in pre-patch. Single target-wise, it's dealing like upwards of 9, 10, 12% of our damage. It's really strong. I don't know why, but it is. We gemmed full Mastery for this run, running my own secondary stat weight sims and things, which you should run on your own. Mastery is where I wanted to be. It directly affects Rapture damage, dot damage. It's just really strong as a whole. So the thing with this Blood of the Enemy build, you're playing Dark Caller, which gives you a 2-minute Dark Lair. You're playing Dark Soul, which is a 2-minute cooldown. Now, Blood of the Enemy is a 1.5-minute cooldown, and so is Manifesto of Madness, but pairing them all together gives you an exceptionally strong DPS profile on trash packs and even bosses in Mythic Plus, whatever, what have you. Blood of the Enemy gives you, whenever you pop it, 10 seconds of 25% increased critical strike chance against the targets that are hit by Blood of the Enemy. Now, you do indeed have to be in melee range for that to go off, but we'll make it work. It is what it is. For the next 5 seconds after you pop Blood of the Enemy, targets that you hit that are critically struck take 25% increased critical strike damage. So if you open on your CD Corruption, Agony's Rolling, Vile Taint UA, Dark Lair, Trinket, Blood, and Rapture, with the levels of haste we have now, with Dark Soul rolling, you can squeeze in 4 or 5 Raptures within that Blood of the Enemy bonus crit damage window. Your burst damage is insane. I have not seen another class so far in pre-patch burst as high as an Affliction does with Blood of the Enemy, Dark Lair, everything else. Now, this build has been around for a while, but the big difference is that previously our main Soul Shard spender was Unstable Affliction. It's Rapture now. Unstable Affliction, it was a dot that dealt damage over 6-7 seconds, whatever, what have you, and you had to wait the whole duration to get value out of that shard, which, number one, surpassed the actual 5-second, 25% crit bonus damage window that Blood brings, and just wasn't as impactful when it came to burst damage. Rapture, you can get value out of that shard in one cast, and it hits every single target that was probably hit by your Blood of the Enemy at the same time. This build is incredibly strong when it comes to trash. A 2-minute profile is really, really strong. And when it comes to bosses too, this is solid. Focusing Iris, for example, as a major, brings a lot of AoE damage and plus when you blast a pack down. But when you go to a boss, it's just a big beam of whatever, Blood of the Enemy applies a damage debuff to targets, whether it's single target or 5 target, 10 target, whatever. It applies the same effect, and it's strong, single target, it's strong AoE-wise. It's just a really, really strong effect. The first one we did here was a freehold. Some of the packs are pretty impressive. You'll see here, the second one we did, we ended up swapping out Breath of the Dying Minor for Memory of Lucid Dreams Minor. Now, I will say, at the end of the freehold run, Crucible of Flame was about 5% of our damage. Rapture was about 29%, 30-ish, give or take. I wanted to see how Lucid Dreams felt. Number one, because, well, more raptures, more damage. Number two, I wasn't very impressed with Breath of the Dying. It dealt like 2.5% of our damage, and plus, at that point, I'd rather be playing Purification Protocol or something else. So I said, let's try out Lucid Dreams, and holy cow, Lucid Dreams was really, really good as well. Getting those extra 1, 2, 3 raptures when you have your Vile Taint, your Dark Lair out. Yes, you don't have the 5-second crit buff. You basically almost are rapturing if you get the right procs back to back to back or the right shard gen past your Blade the Enemy window. But the thing is, it doesn't really even matter because it's just good. Unlike Destro, which we'll get to here in a second, Affliction just really, like, Rapture just hits really, really hard. The master scaling that it has, it's good. When Affliction has its 2-minute cooldowns in Blade the Enemy, Dark Lair, Dark Soul, Manifesto, and there are other trinket options as well. Balefire Branch, Humming Black Dragon Scale from Wrathion gains value because Intellect is much better for us now due to secondary stat scaling being a thing. When you have those cooldowns, though, your damage is insane. Your burst damage is ridiculous. It's sort of front-loaded, though, because you pop your blood and you go into Raptures. Once the Blade the Enemy window closes and the pack is still alive, your Raptures still hit hard, though. Your Raptures still hit hard even outside of your Dark Lair. Comparatively to Destra, which has 2-minute Infernal, it has Reign of Chaos, it has Soul Conduit, it has Inferno. If you've been watching my beta videos, it essentially has that build, barring, well, not having Wilfred's yet. The thing with Destro, though, is that it takes time, just like beta, to get that full damage rolling. Yeah, you might cast 22 Rain of Fires, but the pack dies after casting 5, you're losing a lot of value. Aff has a similar but different profile. You can hit your blood and just burst and go. It's really, really strong. And like I said, the big difference, when Destro doesn't have its Infernal, Destro doesn't do the damage that you want it to. It still does good damage. Rain of Fire spam is still strong, but a lot of its damage is in your Infernal window. Rapture hits hard even outside of cooldowns for Affliction. I was really, really impressed with Aff. The big thing also is that as Destro, if you're pulling, I feel like you need to pull large, multiple packs to really get the full value out of it, out of those 20 plus Rain of Fire cast. Aff, pull 3, 4, 5 mobs. You're good to go. You actually just crush. Jeez. You actually just crush. I was really, really impressed with Affliction today in Mythic Plus, and I'm super excited to do some more tomorrow on stream and see how it is in Nilotha. So shifting gears a bit here, looking at Destruction from day 1 in pre-patch, there are 2 builds you can essentially play in Mythic Plus, one being Vision of Perfection Major and one being Memory of Lucid Dreams Major. It's similar to the way it was before. Vision of Perfection has a chance to proc Infernals. Now, there have been 8,000 different variations of what VOP does with Reign of Chaos. The build that went live today works very similarly to the way Supremacy worked. At this moment in time, if you proc a VOP-based Infernal, it gives you 10 seconds of Reign of Chaos. If you proc a second VOP Infernal after your first VOP one, it will extend the VOP window, the Reign of Chaos window given by your first VOP-based Infernal by 10 seconds. Now, I know it's a little complicated here. We've had 10,000 different versions of VOP and Reign of Chaos, but that's how that works. So it's essentially working the same way that it did with Supremacy, based around VOP Infernals. If you cast your player-bound Infernal, and this is big because in most of beta testing in PTR, it would actually, if you cast your player-bound Infernal and proc the VOP-based Infernal in there, it would reset the cooldown to a full 30 seconds, and then add 10 seconds onto it for the first VOP Infernal in your main player-bound Infernal window. If you proc a second VOP Infernal in that window, it would reset to 30 seconds, and then add 20 on. If you proc 3, it would reset to 30, and then add 30 on. It would basically increase by 10 seconds every single time. That bug is, well, whatever it is, has been fixed. It essentially works the same way that it does with Supremacy, or it used to. It will not reset the cooldown, it will just add 10 seconds on to your Reign of Chaos window. So the VOP interaction is certainly strong. The thing is, when it comes to Mythic Plus, first of all, the proc rate does feel a little lower. I don't know if there was some internal modifier that was modified, but the proc rate does feel a little lower, and it's mentioned to me in a few different places. Now, it could just be the fact that I haven't played live in a while with VOP, but it feels a little off. Regardless, though, VOP brings that RNG, but a much higher potential upside when it comes to Mythic Plus. Lucid Dreams gives you a 2-minute damage profile with VOP Minor, or I guess VOP Minor, and Crashing Chaos. Now, VOP Minor does indeed give a 25% cooldown reduction in pre-patch. It was nerfed to 10 on PTR. It's gone back and forth 10 times. It is 25%. So the 2-minute Infernal build is indeed still a thing. Basically, with the 2-minute Infernal build, you hope that your tank pulls around your CDs, and if you do, nobody can touch you. You end up putting up an Immolate or two, dropping your Infernal, popping Lucid Dreams. I pop it early on, because I want that shard gen early on. Once I proc 3-4 Infernals, Lucid might expire, but I have 3 or 4 Infernals rolling. It doesn't make a difference. I pop Infernal, Lucid Dreams, and just pretty much start spamming Rate of Fire. I will put a Havoc up early on if I have multiple targets, which normally is always the case. And if I need to build shards, I'll tab to a different target, conflag, and then that normally gives enough to keep casting Rain of Fire. You can cast so many Rain of Fires in a row. My record is 22, I believe. Somebody mentioned earlier on stream that their record is 29 with Heroism, or let's be real, the real faction, Bloodlust. But the issue with this, I feel, is that, first of all, keys are a lot easier to do right now. We did a 20, I feel like a 10. If you're not in a high setting, it is fortified this week, but it's also sanguine, so it's tough kiting out of Rain of Fire. It's a bit unfortunate, but if you're not in a high setting, you're not getting that full Windows value. You're not getting a full 30 seconds of spamming Rain of Fire. You're getting maybe 15-ish. It's still really strong, but it's similar to the way that it is on beta. It's hard to get a lot of value all the time. The build is really, really, really strong. If you pull around it and your tank knows your CDs, hey, I got Infernal, I got Lucid, pull the whole room, let's go. We did it a few times, and the damage is there. It does burst higher long-term, higher than Affliction. Popping Blood the enemy is AF, you'll get that big burst damage at 14, 15, 16k on a 4-5 pack pull within, I don't know, 12, 13 seconds or so of popping your main CD. You will still be, in a sense, almost ramping towards the end of your Infernal Reign of Chaos window, as long as you get good procs as Destro, but, well, good Infernal procs of Reign of Chaos. But the thing is, it's hard to get all that value in Mythic Plus right now, unless you're in a higher setting in a coordinated group. Now, I'm not saying Destro's bad, because it's not. The damage it brings is truly insane. We knew this Lucid Dreams major profile with 2-minute Infernal and Font would be insane, and it is. The single target damage you bring too is also really impressive. If you proc Infernals early in your opener with Reign of Chaos and Lucid Dreams, you crank single target, just like the actual Affliction build with Blood the Enemy. It's very, very good. But I will say, outside of your Infernal, it sort of feels like beta. Chaos Bolt doesn't hit incredibly hard. You still have Flashpoint, you still have Rain of Fire, but it's you don't have Kata to apply Immolate to all the mobs because you're playing Inferno, which I don't think is a bad idea, but part of me still wants a Cataclysm back because it's a bit of a pain having to manually apply Immolates at the start of a trash pack. Regardless, though, you don't have that Immolate for that, or that Kata for those Immolates up for that extra shard gen, so it feels slow outside of your Infernal. And we don't have Wilfrids right now in pre-patch, so outside of these massive, massive pulls, your damage is good, but I truly feel that Affliction with no CDs versus Destro with no CDs, Affliction wins. I don't think it's incredibly close. Rapture damage with mastery scaling and, gemming mastery, for the most part, as long as you've kept up with your gems in Nilotha and 8.3, or even have like 3/4 of your gear with gems on them, you can hit 90% plus mastery. I think I'm at 91%. And keep in mind, the different specs DR the first rank of mastery at different percentages. Affliction DRs at 75%, I believe, into the first 10% less mastery rank. I believe I'm just into the rank 2 of DRing. But I ran a stat weight sim, which is for my own character. I still want mastery the most, and that was single target. That'll go even higher in AoE, because Rapture hits everything for the same amount. It's really, really strong. I've been incredibly impressed with Affliction and Destro, but I'm going to be real. I give the edge to Affliction outside of CDs. Inside CDs, if the pack's going to live for a while, I don't think much can really touch Destro. But for the consistent damage, I give the nod to Affliction, honestly. So when it comes to Demonology in pre-patch, not a whole lot has really changed. For the most part, we're still playing EP, we're still playing Baleful. You can mix in a Meteor piece if you want. This is an actual workshop key, so I think 3/3 is better here for the most part. But not much has really changed. You're still playing Consumption. The build still feels similar. You're playing Grimoire Felguard and Vile Fiend over Soul Strike and Soul Conduit. So I guess things feel a little different. When you have your Tyrant, basically because you're playing VOP Minor here, pretty much every, I guess, minute or so, like a minute and 7 seconds, I believe, with VOP, your damage is really good. I guess if you have your Grimoire Felguard and your Vile Fiends every 2 minutes. What I was doing, Vile Fiend is a 45-second cooldown. Tyrant is about a minute 8 with VOP Minor. We're playing the World Bane Major build here. I was just holding Vile Fiend for every Tyrant, for the most part, towards the end of the dungeon. Yeah, you lose, like, it sits off CD like 15 seconds-ish, but I mean, it's essentially a wash because you're actually getting the Tyrant 15-second extension as well, plus the actual health that you put into your Tyrant for consumption. The damage bonus it brings is certainly worth it. That was every Tyrant. Every other Tyrant you have Vile Fiend and Grimoire Felguard, because technically if you pop a Tyrant at 0, for example, your second Tyrant should be a minute 8, a minute 9, and your third should be like 2:16-ish, if my math is right. I live in Florida, but it's pretty easy to do. So you're holding your Grimoire for like, I don't know, 10, 15-ish seconds, but it's totally worth it. It's a minute and a half cooldown. I'm sorry, 2 minutes. And it's worth it because you're getting that massive extension to your Felguard, and you're also getting the health bonus from that in your Vile Fiend. So it's a bit awkward at times, but it's worth it. Once again, if you have CDs for like pre-planned packs and everything, the spec just cranks. Unfortunately, in this workshop run, we had a bit of an odd route. I thought we were pulling the boss at different times a bit, and it just sort of threw my CDs off. I think if we ran it again, I'd have a decent bit more damage in here, but the run was still fun regardless. Demo's damage with Tyrant is really impressive. I just don't think it's necessarily as strong as Destruction or Affliction. But the thing is, you have cooldowns essentially every minute or so. So depending what you're doing, you can get a lot of value out of Demonology. I was, for the most part, impressed, but not a whole lot really changed. You're still playing World Bay Major. You're still playing VOP Minor with Lucid Minor and Conflict or Iris, or I think I played Crucible. It's solid. It's still good. It's Demo. You know, outside of CDs, the damage is still impressive. I was impressed. It seemed a little higher than I thought it would be, but I mean, that's sort of Demonology's toolkit. And let's be real, we are pretty geared here for the most part. So, Demo was solid. As far as all 3 specs today go, though, I'd say number 1 for me, personally, day 1. This could change. Day 1, Blood of the Enemy Affliction. Incredibly impressed with Blood of the Enemy Affliction in Mythic Plus. Number 2, Destro with Lucid Dreams. VOP is not bad. I didn't really play it much. I don't love the RNG of it, but I do see the upside to it at times. And number 3, Demo, but it's just sort of, you know, the way it is. Let's take a look briefly at how the Blood of the Enemy Affliction opener looks, because I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions about it in AoE, that is. Okay, so I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions about what gear I'm playing, everything else in this actual Blood of the Enemy rotation, whatever here. So we are playing full mastery gems. My gear is not totally swayed towards mastery. It's just sort of what I had on. I probably could have a little more, but it's fine. 91% mastery, 29-ish% haste, 31% crit. We are running Blood of the Enemy Major, Lucid Dreams Minor, Conflict and Strife Minor, and Crucible Flame Minor. Now, once again, Crucible Flame is dealing a lot of damage when it comes to single target, and even a decent bit in Mythic Plus. If you don't have one of these minor options, a solid alternative is Focusing Iris Minor, Purification Protocol Minor, Breath of the Dying Minor is okay too. This build really just revolves around Blood of the Enemy Major, and the Lucid Dreams refunds are pretty solid too, if you get them at the right time. Do I have any drums on me? Let's actually see here. I don't, unfortunate. That's okay. So as far as Azerite goes, we're playing triple racking, triple Heart of Darkness. Now, I have run sims on my own, and for the most part, I had seen a few before pre-patch went live. Cascading Calamity has lost value. I think a lot of this is due to the secondary stat, I guess, devaluing of Shadowlands pre-patch moving forward. Having a baseline secondary stat amount split equally amongst all your stats versus one just being sort of forced into haste, I think is solid. At the same time, it does, in my opinion, gain a bit of value when it comes to, I guess, multi-target scenarios. Absolute Corruption, Drain Soul, Vile Taint, Dark Caller, and Dark Soul Misery. So basically what you're going to do here, head over to the pack. I'll start in melee because it's simpler, it's fine. Trying to, you know, emulate Mythic Plus. I pad on aggressive, that would help. So let's say the tank's running in, right? I'll pop my flask, whatever. Precast Seed of Corruption. I'll pop my Dark Soul. Agony, 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 Agony. Roll my UA. Vile Taint, I'll Zerking now. Dark Glare, Manifesto, Blood, Rapture. Solid 16k burst or so. That's on 4 targets. Not many classes can burst that high, especially in that fast of a setup. And the thing is, even outside of actual, like, Blood of the Enemy windows, our Rapture damage is still strong. Like, Rapture still hits pretty hard, and we can maintain these 3 dots pretty easily. Now, depending on Vile Taint timing, it seems like, depending how long the pack is lasting, all that, every other window or so, you have time to go into like a big Vile Taint Rapture spam window. My Agony, rest in peace. But it's still really, really strong. A Rapture once here. It's still really, really strong. And you have that damage essentially every 2 minutes or so. It's incredibly strong. Just really, really, really good when it comes to AoE. And even when it comes to single target, which we'll look at here in a second, your damage is still impressive. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at our single target opener, even playing the Dark Caller, Absolute Corruption, more Mythic Plus based build. And I'll explain why I think Blood is so much better than Iris. So when comparing, say, focusing Iris Major to Blood of the Enemy Major, yeah, Iris gets you a lot of value AoE-wise in Mythic Plus or on stacked targets, but it doesn't really get you much value when it comes to single target. You'll cast it, it's just this big beam of semi-irrelevant damage. Blood of the Enemy works so much better with the spec because Rapture is your new Soul Shard spender. It buffs that Rapture damage after all your dots are rolling and just gives you an insane amount of burst. And it's really good on 4 or 5 targets, X amount of targets. It's really good on 1 too, because that vulnerability window, in a sense, not actual vulnerability like in Marksmanship Hunter stuff, or I guess previous Marks and whatever. The actual just damage amp window is applied essentially the same way when it comes to a single target. Even going into it, for the most part, you pull into a boss, just Agony, Corruption, Dark Soul, go into your Vile Taint, your UA, Dark Glare, Berserking, Trinket, just Blood, and just go, man. Just go. Like, your damage is obviously not impressive as, you know, AoE. At the same time, we got 3 shards out of 4 or 5 there, but the burst damage you get is still really strong. And if you get good Lucid refunds in your opener, your single target damage is still really competitive. Like, this build brings a whole lot to AoE and a whole lot to Mythic Plus as well. It's just in a really good spot. Legion Warlock, Afflock was a lot of fun. Now, I'm not saying this is as fun as Legion Afflock because it's not in a sense, it's just fun in a different way. Having played Shadowlands, having played BFA, it's really cool. This is why I love pre-patch. It's really cool seeing both the expansions overlap. Blood of the Enemy, Azerite, Essences, and the new toolkit of Affliction and Shadowlands. This build is really, really fun. Super strong. If you guys have Blood of the Enemy Major, I really, really, really encourage you to give it a shot in Mythic Plus, and I guess tomorrow, my guild raids, we'll also take a look at it in Nilotha. Thanks for watching, though, dudes. Today has been one long day. Yeah, I know my hair is a mess. I know I need a haircut. I know I look terrible, but it is what it is. Today's been one long day. We did like 9-10 hours on stream, and I want to get this video up to you guys tonight as well, because I know my EU boys are waking up and wanting to know what's going on. Well, hopefully this helps you guys out. So hopefully I give you guys a better look at how Warlock is for the first day of pre-patch. Now, there probably are a few builds out there that we haven't explored. Tomorrow is Wednesday, which means it could potentially be a new beta build day. I imagine if they're skipping a week for beta builds, it would be this week, but I have no idea. So my guild does indeed raid tomorrow. If there's any new relevant, anything new and relevant that comes out as far as pre-patch goes, I'll be sure to do my best to report to you guys here when I know. Any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get back to you. Let me know what you guys think about this Blood of the Enemy build and just how Destro and Demo are at the same time in pre-patch. I know that not everyone loves pre-patch, but at the same time, these builds are a lot of fun. If you've sort of been on edge but coming back to WoW, I'd say really, truly give, and like you have an active sub, just give it a shot. This build is a lot of fun. I have not had this much fun over the entire course of Battle for Azeroth. It's been unfortunate. It's pre-patch time, but it's still a lot of fun. These builds just incredibly, incredibly fun. It's always great to see, you know, pre-patch when 2 expansions come together and you get essentially the best of both worlds. So any weak auras, profiles, or add-ons you see here, once again, are indeed available to you guys for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, drop a follow, hang out, ask any questions, and grab them anytime. Now, I will say here briefly as well, my Wago might say that it's private right now. It is not private. Wago has just been messed up today with everyone trying to get weak auras. If it says it's private, just refresh it. If it starts loading, starts spinning, give it a few minutes, it'll come up. It's not private. It's not locked behind any subs. It's there for free. Just give it a minute. Thanks for watching, dudes. I appreciate it. If you guys want to see more WoW content, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. Thanks again, dudes, and I'll catch you guys all again soon on stream. Peace.